The game God of War follows a hyper-jacked Kratos and his son called Boy.
Boy.
For an epic journey that ends in the pair contributing to some air pollution. However, for them to be able to do this, they first had to defeat many enemies. Some were more powerful than others. Travel through many different realms, and some were more hellish than others. And interact with interesting characters.
But how did you...
None of your boy business. Now get in here. I got something for you.
With most of them having a full set of limbs, but some of them happen to be missing a few.
Good.
Oh. Through this journey, we learn a lot about this pair and discover interesting nuances about their relationship. In this video, we will go over this unique father-son connection and in the end find out why their relationship creates a very interesting mediating effect. Overall though, this game is an absolute masterpiece and comfortably sits in one of my favorite games of all time. It's the kind of game that makes you wish that those men in black suits would just use that memory wipe thing on you.
Repositioner. We call it the neuralizer. Keep it simple, please. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Agent K. Ladies and gentlemen, if you will, look right here.
You start the game in a similar way you would do on your first day in Minecraft, by assaulting an innocent tree. Soon afterwards, you find out that these trees are needed for a very important reason, as unfortunately Faye, the wife of Kratos and the mother of the boy, has passed away, and the trees are needed for her cremation. At this point, we see the father and the son interact for the first time, with the boy displaying obedience to the blunt orders of his father,
Get in the boat, boy.
while staying relatively high-spirited throughout the ceremony.
She's ready.
After leaving her on the George Foreman for a while, the pair get slightly bored and decide it's a good time to do some hunting. And to be fair to the developers, Kratos and the boy do something that real life research shows to be true. In this meta-analysis, they found that single fathers are more likely to be involved in play and provision
It's your kid. Is that what you want?
than to hold meaningful private conversations. Something which single mothers are more likely to do. And I mean, trying to snipe a mystical deer is as far as you can get from opening up about your own thoughts and feelings. Furthermore, the same meta-analysis found that single fathers, like Kratos, are actually more lenient than single mothers, therefore allowing their children to experiment a bit more. However, such experimentation caused the pair to find themselves in a bit of a tussle with a rather large creature, and then later on with your local door-to-door salesman. Now, throughout these opening scenes, we get to see that our protagonist, Kratos, cares a lot about his son, but his harsh, cold manner makes it easy to think otherwise. He is authoritarian in nature, dominant, and evidently would score very low on agreeableness. Now, an authoritarian personality describes a person who values control, hierarchy, discipline, and therefore operates with little warmth or empathy. Unfortunately, there are many examples in history where an authoritarian personality rose to power and the outcomes weren't too positive. But for literally the God of War, it makes sense for them to have this personality type, as being loving, kind, and compassionate wouldn't really qualify them for that title. Secondly, the dominant part comes from the DISC personality framework. People who score highly in this measure are usually results orientated, direct, and commanding, because they prioritize efficiency and outcomes over emotions. So it's easy to label them as being cold, which may not always be the case. Finally, low agreeableness. Low agreeableness comes from the big 5 personality traits, from the acronym OCEAN. Agreeableness is basically how likely someone is to agree to something. Funnily enough, research shows that a low score in agreeableness is often found in business majors. Hang on a minute, where did the boy just go? Oh snap. All that talk about Kratos and his personality made the boy dip deep into that ominous looking fog. But after a nice zone 4 run, Kratos finds his son with a dying boar and some random lady. The boar happened to be sniped by the little boy, but in this scene we get to find out more about how the boy sees the world.
The last of his kind in all the realm, and you shoot him. You needed food?
Target practice.
Target practice.
I'm so sorry.
Keep that pressure.
Generally, the boy is like your innocent, naive child, but throughout the game he displays high levels of empathy to things his father would not, like this boar, Brock on the bridge, or when Sindri got stream sniped by an ancient dragon. Okay, I think they get the hint. Subscribe so you don't miss out on any more videos. Anyways, it's very likely that he inherited or learnt this trait from his mother, and perhaps in a spiritual way, that's how she remains close to him after her death. With that said, the boy was also very close to his mum, with him even personally saying that he was way closer with her than he was with his father.
Do you think for this last leg up the mountain that maybe I can carry her?
I told you no.
Why? She meant more to me than you anyway.
What?
I just meant I spent more time with her. You were off hunting a lot.
It would serve you to stop talking.
Unfortunately, for children that have suffered parental death, the most common mental health consequences are depression and anxiety, with a prevalence rate between 7.5% and 44.67%, as stated in this meta-analysis. Now, according to this paper, the 3 primary causes for this are social isolation, taboo on death, and social stigma. So, when your best friend is an ancient head,
Right, you know that.
your dad replies with only one-liners, even though you are desperate to build a deeper connection with him.
You've had to kill people before, haven't you? You're used to it.
We do what we must to survive.
And you have literal gods roasting your dead mum.
Oh, are you dumb? That your father's doing? Or did you get it from your mum? She's stupid and ugly.
It's very impressive that the boy doesn't fall for any of these mental health consequences. But in classic mythological style, instead of falling into depression like a mere mortal, the boy's health bar drains to 1 HP because his father has refrained from telling him that he is also a god. This causes the boy to be in a serious need of a quick revive, but Kratos, only being a level 10 Thug at this point, needs to upgrade his weaponry if he wants to do anything in the realm of Helheim, the place where he needs to go in order to save his son. So, as desperate times calls for desperate measures, Kratos now needs to uncover his past and let all hell break loose.
But there is one unavoidable truth you will never escape. You cannot change. You will always be a monster.
I know.
Now the heart, brother. You'll have to get your hands up.
Kratos, the son of Zeus, did not have an easy life. He successfully led the Spartan army through many wars, honing not only his fighting skills, but also his mentality to deal with such a violent life.
Power. This weapon, any weapon, comes from here. But only when tempered by this. By the discipline, the self-control of the one who wields it. That is where the true strength of a warrior lies.
He ended up paying a huge price when Ares tricked him into killing his previous wife and child, with their ashes forever branding him all across his body. Yet with such a difficult history, he still wants to be a better father. So even though he struggles with opening up, he decides to tell his son the truth about who he really is.
I'm a god, boy. From another land far from here. When I came to these shores, I chose to live as a man. But the truth is, I was born a god. And so were you. Boy, have you nothing to say?
Can I turn into an animal?
Can you turn into an animal? No. No, I do not think so.
The boy's reaction was actually quite endearing, and classically egocentric, which you would typically expect from a child his age. But Atreus, the boy that became a god, now knows of his true nature. So, how does he deal with this absolute paradigm shift? Well, long story short, he actually becomes quite a huge little shit. The power absolutely gets to his head, and he literally becomes the god of being condescending.
Let me guess. Your brother isn't as talented as you, and his work is junk.
Those things are accurate. Your point?
It's all you ever talk about, over and over. Do something about it or shut up already.
I see.
Yeah! We're sick of hearing about little people's little problems.
All right. That hurt a little.
And to make matters worse, he even starts shanking other gods without permission. You see, this kind of I'm better than you behavior can be explained by a thing called social dominance theory. This theory examines how societies organize themselves as group-based social hierarchies, with certain people at the top and the rest being below. The big conclusion made from this theory is that the major forms of intergroup conflict are all more or less derived from the basic human predisposition to form and maintain hierarchical group-based systems. Now, I know Atreus is not technically a human, but it would be clear that gods would be at the very top of this social hierarchy. So in order to maintain their dominance over other groups, they proceed to repress them through violence, myths about their greatness, and promote a general mentality that anyone who is not a god is simply beneath them. But who happens to step in and attempt to control the boy's egotistical rampage? Well, you probably guessed it. It was Kratos, his own dad.
You killed against my wishes. You lost control.
Haven't you been teaching me to kill?
I've been teaching you to survive. We are gods, boy. And that makes us a target. From now until the end of days, you are marked. So I teach you to kill, yes, but in defense of yourself. Never as an indulgence.
So you see, throughout this video, we have actually slowly uncovered why and how the pair mediate each other. Now, a mediating effect in psychology is usually to do with something having an indirect effect on an outcome. So a decent example would be something like sleep quality, can affect academic achievement. But the thing that mediates this, the thing that has an indirect effect on the outcome, is something like alertness. Being more alert is caused by having better quality sleep, but it also positively affects academic achievement as you are more likely to answer questions correctly. So in the case of Kratos and Atreus, when you make the independent variable the amount of adversity they experience, like the sheer amount of stuff trying to kill them, or the death of Faye, and then you make the dependent variable the intensity of negative outcomes, you can then start to find that the mediating effect can be caused by the strength of their relationship. Because think about it. The reason why Kratos wants to be a better person is because, whether indirectly or not, he wants to be a better father. Therefore, a strong relationship with his son provides him the motivation to maintain his path on a better life, even when it's so easy for him to revert back to his old ways. For Atreus, he's a young god that lives in an adverse environment and has unfortunately suffered great loss at a very young age. But the boy's need and desire to be closer to his father is what allows Kratos to effectively provide Atreus the tools needed for him to survive. The two then support each other in dealing with the death of Faye. Kratos provides his son with the mental strength to power through difficult times, whilst teaching him the nuances of being a god. On the other hand, Atreus promotes his father to be more open about his feelings, furthering his personal development. Now, I know this is slightly stretching the definition of the mediator effect, but in my opinion, these two in a non-codependent way need each other to be better people, or gods, or whatever you want to call them. It seems like one's weakness is the other one's strength, with both of them having the willingness to help each other, thus strengthening their relationship all throughout the game. Therefore, against all the odds, this strong, positive father-son relationship is essentially what keeps the pair alive. Overall then, I have to say this game is a proper good game, but there does happen to be another God of War with these two involved. So with that said, please let me know in the comments down below if you'd like a cheeky part 2. Either way, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, drop it a like, subscribe to support the channel, and above all, I hope you have a lovely rest of your day.
it.